Welcome to the channel. Today, we're exploring some unbelievable story. Stay tuned and let's dive in. In retrospect, it seems that life's most unexpected storms strike when you are least prepared. The journey that led me to that balcony, coffee and cigarette in hand, started long before April's oppressive darkness. I grew up in a calm suburban community where seasons changed with predictable regularity. Summers were bike trips and lemonade booths, while winters included snowball battles and pleasant evenings by the fire. My parents worked valiantly to provide a wonderful life for us, albeit they did not always agree. Arguments were usual, but divorce was never an option, at least not in those days. I promised myself that I would never make the same errors they had. In my early 30s, I met Lily at a friend's wedding. She donned a bold red outfit that complemented her fiery personality. We immediately clicked. Our whirlwind relationship seemed straight out of a movie, with impromptu road trips, late-night discussions, and vows murmured beneath starlit sky. She was everything I was looking for, colorful, artistic, and fiercely independent. Our marriage, however, was not as smooth as our romance. Financial difficulties, job changes, and 2 children taxed us in ways I never expected, but we tackled them together. Emma and Liam brought both pleasure and mayhem to our little family, and despite the restless nights, they provided stability. Lily's ability to create lovely things, from homemade outfits to passionate birthday cards, filled our family with joy. I was always impressed by her ability to elevate the everyday. Then the fishes appeared, small at first, but difficult to ignore. We stopped laughing so much. Our discussions became commercial, and quiet replaced the places where connection once thrived. I attempted to bridge the gap by organizing date evenings and agreeing to take more of the parental responsibilities, but Lily felt distant. I couldn't figure out why. Maybe I was terrified to face the reality. One evening, after the kids were sleeping, I caught Lily browsing through her phone with a forlorn expression on her face. "What's on your mind?" I asked. She shrugged and avoided my sight. "Nothing important," she said. However, the way she stated it seemed like a door shutting. I persuaded myself it was only a phase and that we would eventually find our way back together. By April, the difference between us was tangible. Short days, chilly winds, and the monotony of winter's grasp have always made the month difficult, but this year seemed much more so. As usual, the children provided me with consolation. Their laughter rang down the corridor, a reminder of what was really important. Still, I couldn't escape the sense that something was missing, that my attempts to keep us together could be insufficient. As I sat on that balcony, the weight of everything weighed down on me. The cigarette flames shone slightly against the chilly grey background, a little protest against the cold. For the first time in years, I allowed myself to consider if our tale, mine and Lily's, was reaching its conclusion. April can be so terrible, doesn't it? Unless you live in a region where the sun shines all year, calling it harsh seems like a nice gesture. It's a gloomy, chilly slog that seems to go on forever, and this April seemed like it was vying for the title of worst ever. I reflected on these ideas while I sat on my apartment balcony, a cup of coffee in one hand and a cigarette in the other. I had quit smoking years ago when money was tight, but now that money was no longer a problem, I had stopped caring. I never smoked around the kids, however, since I didn't want them to take up my bad habits or be exposed to secondhand smoke. With them spending the weekend with their grandparents, I finally had time to sit, ponder, and enjoy. This April began with 2 weeks of cloudy skies, frigid temperatures, and snow piling up by the foot. Valentine's Day became my light at the end of the tunnel, a rare opportunity to break the routine. It fell on a Thursday that year. Friday became an unofficial holiday when the city came to a standstill due to another blizzard. Lily and I had big plans for that Thursday night, a romantic meal, a movie, and maybe even dancing. Instead, we awoke to treacherous roads and heavy snow, forcing us to cancel. By the evening, our planned date night had morphed into a frozen pizza meal at home with the kids. Emma, 6, and Liam, 4, were the only ones dancing that night, bouncing about their rooms, excited at the idea of no school the following day. "There's no bedtime!" They shouted joyously until Lily and I eventually stopped them. I poured Lily a glass of wine and joined her on the sofa after they had gone to bed. "I'm sorry," I said, feeling beaten. This isn't what I had planned for tonight. She offered me a kind grin. "It's okay, Jake. You cannot control the weather." Besides, I had joy simply looking forward to going, and I ended up with a new outfit. I raised an eyebrow and said, "You'll see it when you actually take me out." She joked, "As you wish, my lord." I couldn't help but like her since her tone was humorous, and I pictured her wearing that clothing. Lily had natural grace and turned attention wherever she went. She had been making her own clothing since she was a teenager and often created dresses for Emma, even in a room full of attractive ladies. She stood out with her effortless beauty. I grinned as I looked at the ring I'd put on her finger almost 9 years ago. "Thank you for saying yes, Lily. I adore you." "Here's to us," I responded. "To us," she said, her grin beaming as she clinked her glass with mine. After a break, I broke the stillness. "I realize I've been a grump recently. You and the children deserve better. It's simply that this dismal April has gotten to me." She nodded knowingly. I felt it, too. Even the children and my colleagues have been on edge. Winter has a way of dragging everyone down. Hibernating until spring seems like the ideal solution. She was correct, of course. Despite the dreary weather and challenges, we had a lot to be thankful for: our children, our house, and the love that kept us together. How can individuals get through horrible situations like these without love? I asked aloud. Sometimes they don't, she said quietly, her gaze remote. She once told me about a high school lover who committed suicide on New Year's Eve, a memory that still haunts her. Determined to brighten the atmosphere, I grabbed for her hands. "Happy New Year's Eve, my favorite wife." "Happy New Year's Eve, my beloved husband," she said, smiling again. That snowy weekend was an unexpected gift. With over 2 feet of snow on the ground and the city at a halt, we were forced to slow down and spend uninterrupted family time. The kids made snow forts, ate pizza, and exhausted themselves so much that sleep was a breeze. Lily and I savored our few peaceful moments together, reassured that even April couldn't extinguish the warmth of love and family. The only drawback was Emma and Liam's fascination with Frozen. They insisted on viewing it again, shouting out the lyrics so enthusiastically that I began singing them in my sleep. Lily refused to show me the outfit she purchased for New Year's Eve, sticking to her taunting. "Taking me somewhere means getting out, not staying in," she responded with a chuckle when I asked for a preview. "What if I agree to take it off for you?" I joked, beaming. "Nice try, Jake, but no," she said, chuckling. By Sunday evening, reality had set in. As snowplows cleaned the streets, the work week approached, and we unwillingly started preparing for the arduous tasks ahead. Emma and Liam approached us just before evening, fresh from their showers and dressed in comfy pajamas. Emma, the always present spokesman, stood erect and stated, "Mommy and Daddy, this was the best weekend ever. Thank you for joining us. We adore you." They crawled into our laps for embraces, then switched parents halfway through for a second round. Lily and I shared a misty look. "We love you, too," I said. "You make us so happy." That night, as Lily and I lay in bed, the warmth of the weekend lingered, extending into the following morning. Even as April progressed, its sting became less keen, with moments like this to grasp onto. Later, when we relaxed on the sofa after bedtime, Lily's phone called. "It's Chloe," she said promptly. I saw her face light up as she said. When she hung up, she sank onto my lap, beaming. "So, what's the news?" I asked. "Chloe has a plan to make this awful April bearable," she stated. "It's leap year, so we get an additional day of misery, a Friday." She recommended a night out with the group, including supper, dancing, and a hotel stay, to end the month on a good note. I loved the concept but had a practical problem. "What about going from the club to the hotel? Won't we have to drive?" "That's the best part," Lily said. "There is a club next door to the Riverside Inn where we will be staying. If we lunch at the hotel, there is no cover fee to the club, and Mrs. Anderson has already promised to babysit the kids." I taunted her, feigning uncertainty, until she whacked me with a sofa cushion and laughed. "Okay, let's do it," I conceded. "But on one condition: you wear the Valentine's dress I haven't seen yet." "As you wish, my lord," she said, smiling. The clothing was stunning. A hue of blue that made her eyes sparkle, modest yet flirty. It rippled as she went, revealing her figure below. I was shocked when Lily descended the stairs wearing that. She put a finger on my lips and gently murmured, "It's just me, Jake." the same old me. You're incredible, I said softly, kissing her hands. Her eyes glistened and I saw a quiver in her grin. She did not need my remarks. She already knew. On Friday night, 11 of us met at a full restaurant, enjoying delicious food, vibrant discussion, and pleasure that April was finally over. Lily looked absolutely lovely and I couldn't stop complimenting her. Her touch and stare made it plain that tonight would be memorable. After supper, we checked into our rooms before going to the club. Lily and I didn't drink much, so it was great to be able to concentrate fully on her without having to worry about driving. As we strolled arm in arm to the club, she joked, "We don't have to stay long, do we?" "At your command," I said with a smile. The club was booming and our group's ladies garnered a lot of attention, especially Lily. "You're the most beautiful woman here," I said. "Flattery will get you everywhere," she joked back. We danced together, laughing over hot wings and beverages. When Nathan approached Lily for a dance between breaks, she smiled but rejected, adding, "2 nights just for Jake and me." I could not have been more proud. As the night progressed, our table became agitated when someone saw Brandon Lewis, the renowned tight end, seated close. Conversation switched to his achievements and charisma, but Lily and I remained concentrated on one another, holding hands under the table. Matt suddenly approached our group and invited Lily to dance. She paused momentarily before taking his hand, leaving me startled as she followed him to the dance floor without looking back. My former pride faded as I saw her shine in his presence, her dress flowing as they walked. The sight of her in another man's arms, particularly someone I respected, made my gut tighten. Madeline attempted to soothe me, saying, "It's just a dance," but the slow songs that followed revealed a different narrative. Lily seemed immersed in the moment, reacting to Matt's every action as if they were perfectly coordinated. His whispers caused her to grin in a manner I had not seen all evening. After 2 slow songs, I couldn't take it anymore and got up to intercede. Madeline grabbed my arm and urged me to let Lily enjoy herself. Reluctantly, I sat back down, my heart heavy. When the songs finished, Lily returned to the table, her brilliant grin dimming somewhat when our gazes met. She sensed there was something wrong. I leaned forward and whispered, "I keep telling you you are the most gorgeous lady here. Perhaps it's time for a private dance upstairs." Her fingers shook slightly in mine, and dread flashed in her eyes before she hastily glanced away. Chloe abruptly broke the atmosphere by requesting Lily to join her in the toilet. Lily apologized quietly before leaving, her tone laced with grief. Minutes seemed to last forever. When Lily did not return, I became agitated. Using an empty plate as an excuse, I went to the bar and asked a female bartender for assistance. "My wife went to the toilet a bit ago and has not returned. Could you check on her? Her name is Lily, and here is her picture." I gave the bartender a photo of Lily from my phone, but before she could answer, Chloe stood alongside me. "She's fine," Chloe swiftly replied, slapping a $4 note on the counter. "You don't need to check." I was perplexed and questioned, "Why did you accompany her if she did not need assistance?" Chloe breathed deeply. "Jake, she is not in the restroom. She left the club." Her remarks were like a gut strike. "What do you mean, she has left? Where? Why didn't she tell me?" Chloe took me to a secluded nook. "Listen, Jake. Lily loves you and the kids, but tonight she's with Matt." I looked at her in bewilderment. "So, on what should have been our night, she leaves with some jock?" My rage erupted. "She hasn't left you, Jake," Chloe remarked quietly. "It's just tonight. She'll return home tomorrow and everything will be back to normal." I laughed bitterly. "Normal? She slips off without saying anything, leaving me to cover for her, and you helped. Did she instruct you to delay me?" Chloe nodded with embarrassment. "She didn't want you to cause a scene." I shook my head, furious. "Did it cross your mind to warn her that she is abandoning her husband and family?" "She's not throwing you away," Chloe said. "You are a decent guy. She understands how fortunate she is to have you, and she would go to any length to make things right." I clenched my hands, barely controlling my wrath. "Would you do the same if Matt chose you?" I asked angrily. Chloe paused, but said, "Yes." "Does Nathan know?" I pushed. "No," she said gently. "And he doesn't need to." I scowled at her. Maybe he should. Jake, please don't do that, Chloe begged. Return to the table. Let us distract you. Distract me? I wanted to spend the night with my wife. But due to you, her, and Matt, it is no longer an issue. I turned and returned to the table. Everyone averted my gaze, putting an end to the conversation. Are you okay, Jake? Nathan asked hesitantly. Depends on your definition of okay, I said coldly. You aren't going to divorce Lily over this, right? Nathan inquired. Why not? I fired back. We all agreed long ago, one and done, Chloe said. But Jake, it's Brandon Lewis, Nathan said. I don't care who it is, I said abruptly. If it's not me, that's the end of it. I turned to Nathan. What if Chloe spends the night with Matt? Would you be okay with that? His blush and Chloe's quick attention in the floor said volumes. Jake, think of the kids, Madeline pleaded. They need you. You mean that Lily is thinking about them right now? I asked coldly. Chloe attempted to joke. That's why you hired a nanny. The comedy went flat. Come on, Jake, Chloe urged. It's just 2 nights. She won't have this opportunity again. And I'll never get a wife who doesn't cheat, I said. Silence fell. Madeline eventually said, what if a model chose you tonight? Would you honestly refuse her down? I stood and stared her down. Yes, I would. Because I have a wife. Until tonight. I would not injure her. Who knows now? The room became quiet. My so-called pals sat there, all supporting Lily. I walked away, furious with all of them. As a big bouncer approached our table, he said, is there an issue? Yes, a big one, I said, placing a $20 dollar onto the table. Don't worry, I'm leaving. I signaled surrender before turning to face the group. That settles my debt. You can also cover hers. I exited the club, my rage giving way to profound melancholy. Lily was meant to accompany me on the way to the hotel, but I ended myself alone in my room. Chocolates and lingerie were left over from her preparations, mocking me. The notion of her and Matt shattered me. She would let him have her without hesitation, as if he had a stronger claim on her than I did. After years of marriage, I grabbed our luggage, tossed the lingerie away, and checked out of the hotel. At the reception, the clerk said, was your room okay? It was fine, I said frankly. Just a change of plans. I drove home, my emotions churning, anger, anguish, humiliation. The home seemed deserted. I opened my phone, expecting a message from Lily, but there was none. I was exhausted and fell asleep in my clothes. My phone started buzzing with texts at 3 a.m. I opened them and saw photographs and videos of Lily and Matt together, sent from her phone. He had accessed it to taunt me. Furious, I shared the photographs to our pals under the subject line, happy now. Fueled by adrenaline, I put Lily's items into garbage bags and stuffed them into her vehicle. I took it out of the garage, reset the door code, and uninstalled the opener. Then I burned everything that reminded me of our marriage, including photographs, souvenirs, and her wedding dress. The home became a shambles of shattered memories. I even tossed my wedding ring into the toilet but didn't flush it since a fresh thought came to me as daylight dawned. The thump of the morning paper pulled me back into reality. On the first page, a teaser directed me to the sports section. Who is Brandon Lewis' newest girlfriend? Photos of Lily. Clinging to him and kissing him before getting into his vehicle added to my embarrassment. I forwarded the article link to our buddies with the subject line "Screw you all to hell." At 6:30 a.m., I contacted Lily's mom. Hi, she replied. Is everything okay? I asked. No, she said. Have you seen the newspaper? Not yet, I said. Check the sports section. Lily was seen exiting the club with Matt. What? She gasped. Where is she now? With him, I said bitterly. She won't be coming back here. If she does, I'll kick her out, she said. Her voice softened. I'm so sorry, Jake. We raised her better than that. She can remain here if necessary, but what about the children? They are with the babysitter for now, I told them. I'll arrange something for the weekend. Let me know if I can help, she added. Thank you, Mom. I appreciate that, I said, but my heart was heavier than ever. An idea struck me, and I signed into Lily's Facebook account using her credentials, which I knew since we'd never kept secrets before. I shared a link to the story with the caption, "Guess what reached the first page of the sports section?" I ditched my pathetic spouse and spent the night with a true guy. Lucky me. I then contacted the writer who published the piece, sending a video of Matt insulting me and offered to amuse Lily again. I entered my contact information and clicked submit, chuckling cruelly. At 8 a.m., I contacted Mrs. Anderson to arrange for my parents to pick up the children. When she asked if I had seen the newspaper, I said yes and indicated that I didn't want the kids home when Lily returned. She apologized, saying I didn't deserve it. I phoned my mother next. She had also read the newspaper and volunteered to take the kids for the weekend. When she inquired what I meant to do, I said, "Unleash hell." Around 9:30, Chloe phoned and apologized for underestimating the consequences. I shot back, asking whether she had checked Lily's Facebook or email. When she hadn't, I ordered her to look and hung up the phone. Olivia contacted soon after, furious at the footage. I rejected her and hung up. The following call came from an unusual number. It was Rachel Porter of the Daily Record. She verified Lily as the lady in the story and inquired about the images and videos. I promised to see her after Lily had come home. I checked Lily's Facebook page and noticed varied replies to my message, with some cheering and others denouncing her. Several people called her names and she had already lost friends due to the affair. That's when Lily got home. I watched her get out of a Jaguar as it drove away. She stepped in, behaving as if everything was okay. "Why is my vehicle in the driveway and what's inside?" she inquired, then froze at the sight of the damaged home. "Oh my God, what did you do?" she said, frightened. "I finished what you started last night," I said bitterly. "I'm sorry," she replied, attempting to kiss me, but I backed away. "Do not touch me. You are not my wife anymore. Not according to the newspapers or the internet." I showed her the piece and her face paled. "I'm not his girlfriend," she said. "I don't care what it says," I said. "What difference does it make? You ruined us." She attempted to flee to the restroom, but she recoiled when she saw my wedding ring in the toilet. "Is this your ring?" she asked. "Yeah," I said. "Since you trashed our marriage, I made it official." I took her hand and pointed out a spot on her ring. "What is this?" I asked. She stuttered, denying knowledge, but I played the video Matt had given, which showed him spreading something on her ring. Her face became ghostly. "You didn't just humiliate me in public and in the media," I complained, my rage bubbling over. "You desecrated the symbols of our love." As she screamed, I pulled the rings off her finger with a napkin. "What are you doing?" she screamed. "You flushed them. How could you? How could you? I loved you for over 9 years and this is what I get," I said in return. "It was just 2 nights," she begged. I played the video of Matt teasing me, "Is this what you want? While I am watching, what about him in our bed?" "It was just talk," she muttered. "Get out," I instructed. "Your stuff are in the vehicle and your mother is waiting. I'm filing for divorce on Monday." "How about the kids?" she wept. "You didn't think about them when you left with him," I told him. She pleaded for another opportunity, but I remained strong. "You're dead to me now. Leave." She went out, crying, and I dropped on the sofa. After waking up, I bathed and contacted Audrey, the reporter. She decided to meet at Bella's Diner, a quiet place. I contacted my mother to check on the kids. Emma inquired, "Where is Mom?" "She's with Grandma," I explained. "Well, talk soon." Audrey apologized for the images while at Bella's Diner. "I didn't realize she was married," she said, showing me a video of Lily and Matt holding hands and kissing. "I'm divorcing her," I explained. "She knew my stance on fidelity," Audrey said, nodding. "I have the whole video. Would you like to see it?" "Why not?" I said. Audrey gave me her iPad and started the video. Lily and Matt entered the parking lot, holding hands like we used to. At his vehicle, he spun her around and gave her a passionate kiss. Nobody would assume she was married based on what they were seeing. When the video finished, I returned the iPad. "I'm really sorry," Audrey said. "I sent the photos and story to the paper, but I didn't expect this level of attention." "Do you want my side of the story?" I asked. She nodded. I told her about my encounter and then gave her my phone, which had films Matt had provided. "Fair warning, it's graphic," I said. She watched the films, her face changing as they played. "This confirms rumors I've heard," Audrey added. "Matt is a known player, but no one's proven it." "I'm divorcing Lily," I said. She knew my views on fidelity and didn't care. "How about the kids?" she asked. "They are my priority," I said. "And Matt?" she asked. "I've thought about legal action but don't want to risk jail by confronting him directly," I told him. Audrey gave me a business card. "I know a family law attorney. She is excellent and does not like Matt. Do you want me to call her?" "Sure. Thanks." "Why are you assisting me?" I asked. "A good story," she said. "And I don't like guys like Matt. Allow me to explain your side. We will control the story collectively." "What is in it for me?" I asked. "Protection. Without assistance, the media will twist your story and Matt's team will make you look bad," she said. "Have you considered suing him?" "Yes," I answered. "It's crossed my mind. Let me publish a story tomorrow claiming that you are planning legal action. It will help set the tone." I agreed but demanded veto authority to safeguard my children. After we finished, I decided to go see my folks. When I arrived, my kids raced to embrace me. "Where is Mom?" Emma inquired. "She's with Grandma," I explained. "She has some things to handle." My father, a news junkie, switched on the television during our talk. A clip ran about Matt leaving the club with a new girlfriend. The footage showed Lily kissing him and holding his hand. "Daddy, why is Mommy kissing that man?" Emma inquired. Liam did not comprehend but was disturbed. The host said that Lily had been identified, but her identity was withheld awaiting further details. Matt and his crew made no comment, but more information was due shortly. Dad switched off the television and Mom brought the kids into another room. "What are your plans, son?" Dad inquired. "I'm divorcing her," I said. He nodded. "I don't blame you, but it might cost you custody and financially." "I can't stay with her after this," I told her. I informed him about the reporter who offered to assist and cautioned him that it would turn into a media circus. Mom reappeared and promised to keep the kids safe from reporters. "I agree," I said, thanking them. "Linda will want to see them," Mom said. "We can't stop her without legal action," I told her. "I know," I moaned. "Why did she do this?" She must have realized this was going to end poorly. After checking on the children, Emma inquired sadly, "Are you getting divorced?" "I think so," I responded softly. "But we all love you very much." I embraced them while cursing Lily and Matt in my head. Mom gave me lasagna to take home and I departed. At home, I looked at Lily's Facebook post. It received nearly 500,000 views, with primarily negative feedback. She'd lost most of her buddies. I smirked cruelly and cleaned the home. The doorbell rang. It was Chloe and Nathan. I let them in grudgingly. They apologized for the previous night, confessing they were aware Lily was married but did not stop her. Chloe reported that Lily was now weeping incessantly at her mother's house, probably on the verge of a breakdown. "You want sympathy?" I asked, throwing a dictionary onto the table. "Compare trash with syphilis. You'll find it there." They were astonished. "This ruined you, didn't it?" Nathan inquired. "You don't understand," I said. "I'm barely holding it together for my kids." Chloe questioned whether it was true that I had flushed the rings and proclaimed Lily dead. "I confirmed," I answered. "She ruined our marriage. I just finished what she started." "Now?" Nathan inquired. "I am divorcing her. The scandal has humiliated me in front of the world," I said. I turned to Chloe. "You helped destroy my family." "Why me?" she inquired, surprised. "You encouraged her," I said. "Did you tell your spouse all you told me?" Nathan scowled at her. "What did you say?" She said that if Matt had chosen her, she would have done the same. I told Nathan. He became dark. We'll discuss this at home, he said. Chloe glared at me. I asked you not to tell him. He deserves to know, I said before departing. Chloe asked whether I would forgive Lily. She loves you, right? No, I said coldly. She deceived me, and you helped. I cannot forgive any of you. Chloe glanced down and said, I'm sorry. Nathan whispered an apology before they went. I hardly answered as Chloe and Nathan walked away, Chloe wiping away tears. I locked the door, ate supper, and then flopped on the bed, falling asleep. The following morning, I took the newspaper from the porch and went for cereal and toast instead of cooking. Turning to the sports section, I saw a huge headline, Cheating Spouse Considers Lawsuit Against Tite and Brandon Lewis. Audrey had written a lengthy but courteous piece, keeping my name private. The story focused on the affair and Matt's apparent violation of his morality clause. I closed the paper, satisfied. Audrey texted, I hope you read the paper. I responded, great work. Thanks. Her response, you may expect a call soon. Audrey suggested Melissa Carter, a lawyer, and she phoned seconds later. I'd like to represent you, she said. Infidelity and alienation of affection are valid claims in this state, and I think you have a strong case. She inquired whether I planned to pursue custody. Certainly, I said. Lisa requested a meeting at her office with proof of the affair and financial paperwork. I agreed. What about the fees? I asked. I'll handle this pro bono, she added. I'll explain why later. Before disconnecting up, she said, you'll probably hear from Matt's legal team. Do not consent to anything. Refer them to me. After the conversation, I was about to go see my kids when someone knocked loudly. Two guys in suits, one of whom I knew as Matt's agent, Michael Stanton, waited at the entrance. Can we come inside? Jack asked. I allowed them in and offered beverages, but they rejected. We're here to discuss your issue with Brandon Lewis, Jack said, visibly uncomfortable. What is my problem? I responded, my temper increasing. You mean he's ruining my family? Jack gestured to his lawyer, Daniel, who gave me an envelope and a folder. When I opened the envelope, my cheeks heated with wrath. $1,000. I asked incredulously. Are you giving me $1,000 for what he did? Jack immediately added, plus lifelong season passes and gift shop credit. That is valuable. I almost laughed. And this is in exchange for what? I asked. Daniel opened the folder and showed me a paper. We're asking you not to sue the team or Mr. Thomas, stated the manager. I skimmed it, astounded. So Matt faces no consequences? I asked. What about his morality clause? I pushed. Daniel shrugged and Jack added, patronizingly, boys will be boys. Matt is regarded in the community. We're urging you to rethink and avoid tarnishing anyone's reputation. Matt has damaged my marriage and reputation, I snapped. There are articles and photographs everywhere. How would season tickets or goods help my children deal with the loss of their family? Jack said condescendingly, what do you want us to do? Oh, I'm not sure, I responded cynically. Should I amuse my wife or go live on TV and kick some balls? They gazed, astounded. Daniel inquired if I had a counteroffer. You'll hear from my lawyer, I replied, concluding the discussion and leading them out. After they had departed, I updated Lisa and proceeded to my parents' place. Emma was still unhappy after seeing Lily with another guy. I brought the kids to Dave and Buster's for a respite from the turmoil. After that, we packed their belongings to go to their grandparents' place. As we hauled our stuff downstairs, the front door sprang open. Matt came in, enraged. You are a fool. He yelled. I simply wanted to have fun, and you made it into a federal lawsuit. Before I could answer, he hit me, causing stars to appear in my eyes. Knowing he would not stop, I took the cast iron pan off the stove and swung, knocking him down cold. The skillet slipped from my grasp when I heard a forceful voice behind me. Drop the pan, shouted a police officer, holding a tool. I lifted my hands and he handcuffed me. He broke in, I clarified. I know, the officer said. Your neighbor called in the emergency when they saw him kicking in the door. He let me go after checking there was no tool and assuring me I would not be arrested. You were protecting your kids, he continued. An ambulance came and paramedics attended to Emma, who was terrified, and Matt, who remained unresponsive. My father came up as they wheeled Matt out. What happened? He inquired, staring at the smashed door and my battered face. We had an uninvited guest, I said bitterly. He embraced Emma and said, Where is Liam? We found him hiding under the table, I informed him. It's fine now. You are welcome to come out. Liam slowly climbed out and rushed into my arms. Dad asked the police, Can we leave? The cop nodded. That is okay. You'll need to speak to your son, but you don't have to remain. Thanks, Dad said, collecting the children and their belongings. Come over when you're done. I will, I said, hugging the children good night. After the gang had departed, I went to the officer and gave him my statement. He listened attentively before saying, It's good your neighbor called on time. Was it your wife in Brandon Lewis' story, he added. I nodded. His smile softened as he gave me the counselor's card. I apologize. Call if you want assistance. Thank you, I said, pocketing the card. My neighbor, George, arrived shortly after. Are you all right? He inquired, anxiety engraved on his features. I am now, I responded. Thanks for calling the cops. George shrugged. Not a problem. I witnessed someone kick down your door. What have you done? Hit him with a frying pan. I confessed, yeah, it's true. George chuckled. Remind me not to anger you. He helped secure the shattered door and offered to help me fix it. After he went, I contacted Lisa, who was glad that I was not in prison. She was amused that Matt was in the hospital. Audrey, who had heard the news, said, Your name won't stay anonymous. I know, I said. Later, I contacted my supervisor and requested time off. Take the week, she said. You've had a rough weekend. When I got to my parents' place, I was shocked to see Lily arriving at the same moment. We met on the sidewalk, and she froze when she saw my wounded face. Oh my God, are you all right? She gasped. Isn't it a bit late to care? I said. Your lover happened, I said. He came looking for a fight. What? Are you serious? She stammered. Don't worry, I responded. I handled it with your frying pan. Have you injured him? She asked. Hez in the hospital, I said coldly. Hez also going to jail. Why are you here, Lily? I asked. I came to visit the children. I miss them, she said. You mean the children you abandoned 36 hours ago? I snapped. Please don't call him that, she murmured. He damaged our marriage, and you aided him. That makes him an asshole, I said, rushing inside as she followed. The room became quiet. The children clung to their granny. Liam shook, and Emma scowled at Lily. Mommy, why did you kiss that man? She demanded. What man? Lily inquired, pretending ignorance. The fat man, Emma exclaimed, pointing at the television as the news aired. Matt's face emerged on screen. The anchor's voice filled the whole room. Seattle Falcons tight end Brandon Lewis is facing many charges after allegedly breaking into the house of a lady he was spotted with Friday night. Police said he assaulted her husband, who defended himself with a cast-iron skillet. Thomas is at the county hospital with severe head injuries. The district attorney has said that charges will be brought once his health stabilizes. The screen transitioned to a news conference. Daniel spoke first, saying, We regret the events surrounding Brandon Lewis. We have examined the police report and apologized to the family. We made what we felt was a decent offer to the spouse, but he rejected. A reporter said, How will you handle the charges? We have no comment, Daniel said. Brandon Lewis has been suspended pending investigation. As the report concluded, everyone looked to Lily, who was pale and scared. She muttered, unconscious. Jake, what are your other injuries? What have you done? Concern for your boyfriend, of course, I said fiercely. I punched him a few times, I said. Lily attempted to approach Emma, but she recoiled. My mom stepped in. Haven't you done enough harm to these kids? She demanded. My dad's voice was forceful. Leave now, Lily. And don't come back, he said coldly. Lily cried as she gazed at us, her eyes dripping with sorrow. It was just 2 nights, she sobbed as she stepped out the door. After she went, I hugged my children as they wailed. They eventually calmed down. I kissed them goodbye and went home. Pulling into the driveway, I reminded myself to enter via the garage since the front door was still damaged. Inside, my phone vibrated. Derek was a retired attorney and close family friend. Hey, Derek, I said. I saw the news, he explained. Are you and the children okay? Not really, I confessed. Is it true you took Brandon Lewis out with a frying pan? He chuckled. Yeah, it's true, I said, laughing. Good for you, he said. Are you divorcing Lily? He asked. Yes, I said. Is there no prospect of working things out? He asked. None, I replied, describing the films Matt had supplied. Derek responded, well, that makes things tricky. Have you talked with a lawyer? Yes, I said. I'm meeting Melissa Carter tomorrow. The Ice Queen, Derek said. She is difficult and pricey. Can you afford her? She's taking my case pro bono, I said. Really? I wonder why, he wondered. He'll ask, I assured. We spoke a little more before he added, if you need anything, let me know. Thanks, I said. After a brief meal, I completed the papers Lisa wanted before going to bed and sleeping well. My phone rang the following morning as I was on my way to Lisa's workplace. This was Lily's mother. Jim, you need to go to the hospital, she said, worried. Lily tried to eliminate herself, an overdose of pills and booze, she said. They filled her stomach, and she is now stable. Guess she failed to go, just like everything else. I said coldly, I have an appointment. Perhaps he'll pop by later. She's still your wife and the mother of your children, she said with tears. Don't you care? She didn't care about the kids or me when she left with that guy, I said. I'll check later. A receptionist at Lisa's office sent me to a waiting room. Soon, a small blonde in a stylish pantsuit emerged. I'm Melissa Carter, she introduced herself, shaking my hand. Let's get started. Have you brought the information? She asked. I gave her the folder and the USB device. She rapidly reviewed them. Here's the plan, she said. We will file for divorce on the basis of infidelity. In this state, it may be used to dispute alimony. Assets are often divided 50-50ths, but we'll try for more. In terms of custody, we will claim that her attempted suicide demonstrates instability, as does her lover's aggressive conduct. We have a strong case. I nodded. I'll also file for restraining orders against both her and Matt, even though he's hospitalized, I told her. Especially because of that, she said. He might get bail and is dangerous. Do you have a tool? She asked. No, I said. That's why I used a frying pan. She laughed. Remind me not to cross you in the kitchen. Lisa said, the kids are secure with your parents, so I'll include them in the restraining order. I've also filed a complaint against Matt and the team for alienation of love as a result of his assault and films. We've got a good case. He is worth $125 million. I believe $12. $4 million is appropriate for the harm he has inflicted. If more come forward, we might turn it into a class action case. You're the expert, I said. Do what's right. She nodded. It won't be easy, but we'll make progress. Any questions? She asked. Why are you doing this pro bono? I asked. Her expression relaxed. You are not the first person he has injured. He seduced my fiancée years ago. Wait, what? I inquired, shocked. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. Is he by now? No, she said, shaking her head. But apparently, my fiancé was. My brow wrinkled and bewilderment settled on my face. She saw and smiled before continuing to explain. We got engaged after the 2015 Supreme Court ruling that legalized same-gender marriage nationwide, she told me. Our tale isn't too different from yours. She fell in love with him from the first time they met, just like your wife did with her boyfriend. Everything between us disintegrated after that. I terminated the engagement. Honestly, I wanted to get even with him, but the moment never came. Most of the men he has deceived just slink away in embarrassment. I am sorry you had to go through that. I nodded. Are you two still in touch? I asked. She shakes her head. We're cordial when we cross paths, but we're not friends. I have moved on, and so has she. After a little interval, her tone became serious. Does my lifestyle make you uncomfortable? She asked. Not at all, I said. I'm glad to hear that. She grinned. Good, she said. So, how about you and Rachel Porter? I asked. Do you see each other? She giggled as she shook her head. No, we're just good friends, she said. There's nothing romantic between us, but if the chance to spend time with her came up, I wouldn't mind. Why? I asked. She seems to have taken an interest in you, she remarked. I don't typically let a story get under my skin, Audrey said. I grinned. That's nowhere near my focus, I said firmly. Right now, my kids are my priority. As they should be, she said, nodding in approval. They need you more than ever. Let me get started with the paperwork. I can probably have everything ready in a day or two. If your wife is still in the hospital, we may be able to serve her there. I'd prefer to attend her funeral first, I answered dryly. She grinned slightly as she rose, indicating the end of the talk. We can make that happen, she remarked. I will be in contact. Be safe. We shook hands before I left her office for the hospital. I parked the vehicle and went inside to check on Lily. When I entered her room, her mother was in intense discussion with the doctor. Lily was comatose, hooked up to machinery and a ventilator, and seemed fragile and unrecognizable. Finally, you're here, her mother exclaimed, turning to me with tear-stained cheeks. They have placed her on self-destructive watch. The physicians are doing tests because they are concerned about brain damage. She's been unresponsive for so long that she almost died. What happened? I asked. When she returned from visiting you and the kids, she walked upstairs, her mother stated. I heard her weeping and rushed to console her. She appeared to relax after a bit, so I offered her a drink to help her go asleep. But early the following morning, I discovered an empty bottle of sleeping tablets next to her glass. Her face was bluish. I believed she was gone. I phoned emergency services and they were able to rescue her, although she is still in severe condition. When she is stabilized, they will bring in a psychologist. She may need to remain in the mental unit for a time. How long will she stay here? I asked. At least a few days, her mother said. I already called her workplace to let them know, and they've put her on medical leave. Why are you asking? Are you actually considering serving her divorce papers here? Her mother insisted, appearing frightened. Yes, I said without hesitation. Her mother's expression darkened. How could you possibly contemplate doing that? She is already at her lowest point. That's not my concern, I said plainly. She knew what she was risking when she destroyed our family, and now shall face the consequences. I looked at Lily's face and saw a single tear running down her cheek. Then I turned and left the room. At home, I kept myself busy by repairing the front door. While browsing online, I learned that I'd need a new frame in addition to the door. After measuring, I ordered my order and arranged for locks. My neighbor George volunteered to help me install it once it came. The following 3 days were a flurry of chores, dinners, and family time. My parents assisted with school drop-offs and childcare, but Emma was especially upset, clinging to me whenever possible and avoiding others. Damn Lily, I said savagely to myself. Finally, the time had come to serve Lily with divorce papers. Lisa phoned to confirm the BFF's arrival and instructed me to be quiet during the procedure. I met him outside the hospital, where Lily's mother was blotting her tears with a tissue. Please don't do this to her, she begged. Not here. Not like this. I ignored her and followed the bailiff to Lily's room. She was now off the ventilator, lying poorly in bed with tears streaming down her cheeks. Lily Carlisle? The bailiff inquired. Yes, she muttered. He gave her the manila envelope. You've been served, he said. This includes divorce paperwork and a restraining order. You and Mr. Thomas must remain at least 500 feet away from Mr. Carlyle, his children, his house, and his parents' home. Failure to comply will lead to arrest. Do you understand? Lily nodded weakly and turned to me, her voice trembling. Can't we move on from this? It was just one mistake. One mistake is too many, I said firmly. Emma has not recovered from what your lover did to her. None of this would have occurred had you not done what you did. Sign the paperwork. I don't want a divorce, she insisted. What happens if I refuse? She asked. Then he'll file formal charges for infidelity, I said bluntly. Her eyes expanded. Infidelity? Yes, I said. It is still considered a misdemeanor in this state. Nobody has been prosecuted yet, but I am not frightened to be the first. Just sign the paperwork. I am demanding complete guardianship of the children since you are unable to care for them. You may pay them a visit once you are stable. Right now, they don't. Tears welled in her eyes as she paused. Can I see them one more time before signing? Of course, I said. As she perused the paperwork, Lily's eyes welled up with tears. After a few minutes, she gave a trembling sigh and requested a pen. The process server discreetly delivered it to her and watched her sign each page. He completed by signing as a witness, gathering the paperwork, and spoke briefly. I will bring them to Ms. Hawkins. Take care, he added as he left the room. Lily turned to me, her face drenched in tears. Isn't there a way we can simply go over this? She pleaded passionately. I did not intend for any of this to happen. It wasn't intentional. I met her look with a hard voice. That is not true. You knew precisely what you were doing. You didn't hesitate to depart with that moron when he arrived at the club. The moment you saw him, it was as if I didn't exist. You cannot expect me to forget or forgive that. Her sobbing became louder. I'm sorry, Jake, she murmured through tears. Will you ever forgive me? I shook my head firmly. Not now, I said. Maybe one day, years from now, you'll feel differently. But what about right now? No, I cannot. And I will never forget. I'm sorry, she said, her voice cracking. Normally, I would have felt a want to soothe her, but standing there, all I felt was apathy. She seemed to be a stranger, just another face in a throng that I would walk by without thinking twice. Yeah, I said softly. Me too. I turned and went out without saying anything more, thereby ending that chapter of my life. The ensuing months were difficult for all of us. The kids and I adapted to life without Lily, gradually establishing new habits. I had to take up everything she used to do, learning via trial and mistake. Being both a father and a mother was a difficult assignment, but I succeeded with the aid of my own mother. Over time, the children started to miss her less. Emma went to therapy, which helped her recover. However, Lily battled greatly. She tried suicide twice more, but was rescued each time by her mother. After her third try, she was found incompetent and sent to a long-term mental hospital. I subsequently learned that she was practically catatonic, not eating, sleeping, or interacting with the environment. She spent the most of her days rocking back and forth in her chamber, lost in recollections of happier times. I isolated myself from our previous social group. When Chloe was issued with a lawsuit, she became enraged. I received no money from her, but that wasn't the objective. I wanted her to comprehend how her actions had destroyed 4 people's lives. Months later, I ran into Nathan, who informed me that he and Chloe were divorcing after he found she had committed the same kind of deception that Lily did. Now, I understand what you went through, he acknowledged. I can't tell you how sorry I am for everything. The divorce settlement was not as large as I had wanted, but it was sufficient to cover the children's college expenses and provide me with a reasonable safety net. I also got lifelong season tickets to Sharks games, which I doubted I would ever use. Matt, the guy at the heart of it all, finally lost his position on the squad. Previously, he spent an 8 to 15-year jail term for a variety of offenses. Lisa led a class action case including approximately 50 men whose marriages had been shattered by Matt's behavior. Meanwhile, I launched my own claim for mental anguish and damages caused by his assault on my family and property. I was given $1.4 million, which was less than what we had hoped for, but it seemed fair. I handed Lisa a piece of the settlement as a gesture of thanks, despite the fact that she had not requested it. By July, I had decided to sell my home. The memories it contained were too hard to endure. I found a nice 3-bedroom apartment nearby and moved in with my children. With the guidance of a psychotherapist, I began to restore my life. My social life remained quiet, having children required all of my time and energy. In December, Lily's doctor phoned and suggested I bring the kids to see her for Christmas. He hoped seeing them would help her recover from her sadness. I was first hesitant, but after discussing it with her mother and consulting the children, I was shocked when they consented. On December 23rd, we traveled to the facility, a peaceful and well-maintained institution on the outskirts of town. The youngsters were afraid and unwilling to approach her at first, and I couldn't fault them. Lily seemed completely shattered, her eyes lifeless and far away. They eventually moved closer. As they went, she seemed to awaken somewhat, giving me a tiny grin. "Thank you for bringing them," she said softly. I nodded, but remained mute. My wrath against her had long ago subsided, leaving only a profound melancholy. From a distance, I saw her converse and giggle gently with the children. It was as if she had a vision of herself from the past. After about an hour, the doctor leaned near me and said, "Do you want to take the kids now?" he asked. I shook my head. "No," I said. "Let her have this moment. It is Christmas." The doctor nodded in agreement before turning back to face me. "I know her tale, but not yours. Would you want to share it? It might help me understand her better." I told him everything, the events and feelings that transpired. When I finished, he looked at me carefully. "Have you considered reconciliation?" he asked. I shook my head firmly. "No, that's not going to happen." "She made a mistake," he said softly. "Don't you believe you can go forward?" I laughed bitterly. Is there a mistake? Forgetting to pay a bill is a mistake. Her actions were premeditated. She collaborated with her so-called buddies to organize it. She must face the consequences. "Why don't we help her go on?" he recommended. I said forcefully, "Tell her to keep that love in one hand and disappointment in the other. Determine which one fills up quickest." "You sound like you're holding on to a lot of resentment," he told me. I raised an eyebrow. "How would you feel if your wife left you without even saying goodbye? Wouldn't you be angry?" He nodded. "I can see your point. How long do you think she'll stay here?" I asked after a moment. "It's hard to say," he said. "She is now in state care and must demonstrate her ability to live freely and not endanger herself or others. That could take years." I nodded, accepting reality. We observed Lily connect with the children, her vitality noticeably waning. The doctor moved closer. "She's been getting tired faster lately," he said before addressing Lily. "It's time for your medication, and the children need to leave now." Lily knelt to embrace the children, lovingly kissing them on the cheeks. She straightened and looked at me with grief in her eyes. "Thank you for bringing them," she said. "I would want to visit them more often. I'm really improving, you know." "You're welcome," I said. "And yes, Lily, I can see you're improving." Her voice faltered as she inquired, "Are you seeing anyone?" I halted. "I've been on a few dates, but nothing serious," I said. "I miss you, Jake," she said gently. "I still love you." I stared at her evenly. "I miss the woman I married," I confessed quietly. "Focus on getting well. Merry Christmas, Lily." Her lips curled slightly into a grin. "Merry Christmas," she muttered. "Thank you again." "Of course," I said as the youngsters rushed to my side. "Can we come back next week, Daddy?" Emma inquired, her big eyes begging. "Please, Daddy," Liam said. I grinned. "We will figure it out. Let's go home for now." So a new routine started. The children paid Lily 2 visits every month. Her mother usually took them, but I would sometimes bring them myself. During those trips, Lily and I exchanged polite and short remarks. We never spoke about the man. She realized there was no possibility of reconciliation. Nonetheless, she seemed to cherish even the shortest minutes we had in the same room. A year after Lily departed, the first United States. COVID-19 deaths were recorded on April 1, 2020, which is a leap year. By April, lockdowns and limitations had taken hold. If February was horrible, April was far worse. 2 years after she left, life was not ideal, but it was better. Matt's team reached an agreement to resolve the class action lawsuit in July 2020. They were left with nothing, no money and no reputation. His health did not fare well either. Due to medical concerns, he became impotent. When Lily received the news, she mustered a faint grin. "Maybe February won't be so bad next time," she said, "or at least not as awful as the last two." Thank you for watching. What do you think should come next? Leave your opinions in the comments and remember to like and subscribe.